Have you ever wondered, is there more to life than what we have made it to be? Are we living life to its full potential? Shouldn't this be an expectation rather than a dream? At times, our thoughts become our worst enemy from achieving our greatest potential. We have a course which empowers you to succeed in all facets of life, no matter who you are and where you want to be. We have the tools that will help you develop the essential skills to live more this 2021, where we equip you to translate the Quran anywhere. Be coached with the guidance of Allah, speaking directly to you. Study with us and experience a family that desires you to succeed. Imagine what you can achieve with Allah by your side.
وافانا بحسنه حيانا نور الهدى وافانا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear viewers, welcome to Imam's Corner. Inshallah, in this lesson, we will be discussing verses from Surah Naba, Surah number 78, from verse number 33. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكواعب أترابا, and young, mature maidens of equal age. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. My dear viewers, in the previous lesson, we ran out of time and we could not discuss the verse that I just recited and translated. And as I promised in the previous lesson, that we are going to shed light upon this. As we know that the message of this verse many a times is hard for my dear respected sisters to digest. So I thought that we should spend some time upon this. So by the end of our dialogue, our discussion, it will be easier for all to understand the deep meaning of this verse. As we all know that from verse number 31, Allah Almighty starts to speak about the success that has been designed by Allah Almighty for the people that are muttaqun. So Allah Almighty says, إِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا, that the muttaqin, for them will be success. And success in this verse alludes to paradise. Now the verses that follow are verses in which Allah Almighty speaks about the different bounties that Allah Almighty has created and prepared for the inmates of Jannah. Hada'iqa wa a'naba, gardens and vineyards. And then Allah Almighty says, وَكَوَاعِبَ أَتْرَابًا, and young, mature maidens, at-taraba, of equal age. Many a times, my dear sisters will say that men, they will get multiple wives in paradise. What will we get? What will we get? So I'm going to try to address this question to the best of my ability. And I pray to Allah Almighty, who is the true, complete guide, that He guide me in my speech. I would like to start from the basics. I would like to start from the start. That basically, as believers, we believe that the absolute source of knowledge is the Quran. And anything that has been made mention in the Quran is authentic. It is true. There is no doubt about its authenticity. This verse is supported by many, many verses in the Quran. Yani, the meaning that this verse is projecting, that meaning that message has been projected in other verses as well. And whenever we study the Quran, the quality that we need to adorn ourselves with is sami'na wa ata'na. This is number one. That we have heard what Allah Almighty has said, wa ata'na, and we have obeyed. I'm going to draw your attention to the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. And I would like you to study these verses once this lesson ends. I would like you to open the Quran and go to the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah in the Quran, verse 285 to 86. Now, when we study these two verses, we come to realize that Allah Almighty, or even you can go one verse before that, the last section of Surah Al-Baqarah, the last ruku of Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah Almighty says in this section that whatever you show, whatever you do, and whatever you conceal, you will be questioned about both. وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبْكُمْ بِهِ اللَّهُ. Now when the Sahaba heard this verse, they were taken back. They were frightened. And they came to Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and they said, Ya Rasulullah, if we do something or if we say something, that is something that we have done. We had control over it. We didn't use that control properly. We did the wrong thing. We are going to be accountable. Meaning we can control that. I can control my tongue. I can control my body parts. And I can try to do the right thing, abstain from the wrong thing. But Allah Almighty says that whatever you conceal, I'm going to question you about that. Meaning a thought, an idea, a feeling. Now, many a times these thoughts that erupt inside, these feelings that erupt inside may be sinister, may be wrong, false. But I have no control over them. I have control over my body parts. I can basically abstain from putting that idea into reality. But how do I stop the idea? How do I stop the thought? So they came to the Nabi of Allah and basically they said that this is a order in the Quran by Allah Almighty that we cannot digest. It's very, very hard for us. We are going to fail on the other side. So Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to the Sahaba, and this is what I want everyone to understand, that this order comes from Allah. And Allah Almighty knows you better than you know yourself. Allah is your creator. And don't behave like past nations, that whenever there was an order that was to their liking, they used to say, Sami'na wa ata'na. We have heard and we have obeyed. But if the order was not to their liking, they used to say, Sami'na wa asayna. We have heard but we disobeyed. Don't do that. If Allah, who is your creator, who is compassionate and who loves you and knows your ability, has sent down this order and it is not to your liking, still say Sami'na wa ata'na. Meaning that, Ya Allah, if you are going to take us to account based upon what is inside, we are ready. Because this is what you want. I am a slave. I am a servant. Whatever the master wants. Even if that order does not make sense to the slave. So Nabi Kareem Muhammad said, don't say Sami'na wa asayna. Basically say Sami'na wa ata'na. That we have heard what Allah Almighty has said and we are going to obey. Collectively, the Sahaba resorted to the advice given by Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu Akbar. What happened? Allah Almighty changed the rule, abrogated this, cancelled this, and said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. And basically the essence of this is that whatever you earn, you're going to be questioned about that. لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. And whatever you do not earn, you're not going to be questioned about it. Meaning the inside is not going to be accountable. So we learn from the last section of Surah Al-Baqarah and the backdrop to the last section that the first response of a believer to the entire kalam of Allah Almighty, the Quran from cover to cover, is Sami'na wa ata'na. I have heard what Allah Almighty has said, and I'm not in the position to question Allah Almighty. Wa ata'na, and I'm going to obey. This is number one. This is the first quality of a human being. First quality of a believer. Allah Almighty allow us to adorn ourselves with this statement whenever we come across any order that is made mention in the Quran to our liking or not to our liking. Number two, the question that I pose to my audience and to my dear sisters, and I'm not going to go down the scholarship lane, the academic lane. I'm going to make this very simple. I pose a question to all, in particular my dear sisters. Allah Almighty created men and women. Can men say that Allah Almighty loves men more than women? Or can women say that Allah Almighty loves women more than men? No gender can make that claim. Allah Almighty loves men and women because He's the creator of both equally. Allah Almighty loves both of us equally. We find that there was a discussion that took place between two scholars. And one scholar, he said to the other, so there was a male scholar and a female scholar. The male scholar said to the female, Hazrat Hassan Basri, rahimahullah, to Rabia Basriya, that it seems like men are better, afdal, superior than women. Rabia Basriya said that, how did you say that? How did you come to that conclusion? And Hazrat Hassan Basri says, the highest muqam, station that can be given to a man, to a person, to a human being, is prophethood. And when we study prophets, all prophets from the time of Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam to the seal of prophethood, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, were men. So this gives me an understanding that men are superior than women. Rabia Basriya, rahimahullah, she says that there's one thing that you have forgotten. All these prophets that came into this world, with the exception of Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, came through the womb of a lady. Came through the womb of a lady. So that makes us superior, because we are the ones that have carried the prophets. Basically, why I shared this dialogue of two great personalities of Islam with my noble audience is to make us understand that men are not better than women, and women are not better than men. The thing that will make one better over the other is taqwa. As Allah Almighty has made mention in the glorious Quran, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Noble for Allah Almighty is that person, may it be a male, may it be a female, that has adorned themselves with piety. And as we know, that piety, at-taqwa hahuna, taqwa lies in the heart, so we can't make judgment. Allah will make judgment on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, He will make the judgment. I can't say that I am praying then I am better than you because you don't pray. No. Because taqwa lies in the heart. Allah Almighty will determine who is better on the Day of Judgment. Now coming back to the simple question that I pose, that Allah Almighty loves us equally. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to something. Let's say I invite my noble viewers to my house, and I say that I am going to invite you to my house for a da'wah, and I'm going to prepare a mighty meal. Now, in proportion to my resources and my financial muscle, I will prepare a meal. I invited you. You did not invite me. I invited you. And this is about my honor now. It's about my dignity. I can't invite you and then make you be my guest and a miserable guest. I can't do that. I need to take care of all your needs. Many a times when people invite me, they say, Imam Uzair, is there anything that you like to eat? Is there anything that you like to eat? And I'll say, these are certain things that I can't eat. The rest, you can make whatever you want. This is a host of this dunya. And you would experience that many a times. You will experience that many a times. So, if I invite somebody to my house, I will be mindful of their likings and their dislikings. And I will ask them before that, is this something that I can prepare for you? Then I will make the environment in which he is going to come comfortable for him. The spread will be to the ability of the host. Take that example. Let's apply it to the other side. Allah Almighty says to men and women, this is the path that you have to follow. Inna lil muttaqina mafaza. The path of taqwa. Are women exonerated from this? Are they free from this? No. Women make the same effort that men make. If men pray 5 times a day, women pray 5 times a day. Whatever order a man has to fulfill, the lady has to fulfill. Both fulfill the same order. It's the same effort. And there are many women that have excelled. Who can compare themselves with Hazrat Khadijah al-Kubra? Who can compare themselves with Hazrat Aisha? Who can compare themselves with Maryam, Asiya bint Mazahim? They have been great women in human history. They have excelled because they worked upon themselves and their taqwa. Now, Allah Almighty is going to reward a person based upon their effort. The person made the effort, male or female. Allah Almighty says, you are deserving of paradise. You are deserving of paradise. Let's go to paradise now. Allah Almighty says, Nuzulam min ghafurir rahim. Subhanallah. Basically, this verse means that today, when you enter into paradise, Allah, I'm going to be your host. Host for who? For men? No. Host for all that enter through the doors of paradise. Allah is going to be the host for men and women. And Allah Almighty is going to reward the inmates of paradise in accordance to His capacity. In accordance to His capacity. Men and women both are going to be satisfied. Satisfaction is going to be experienced by both to a level that we cannot fathom. We cannot fathom. Think about it. How can we fathom this right now? That I will be sitting and a bird will be flying, and I will look at the bird and I would like it to be presented to me as a roasted bird, and it drops in front of me. I start eating it. I throw the bones to the side. Once I have eaten, it is reconstructed and it flies away. Now these things cannot be truly fathomed, cannot be understood, cannot be digested. But what we need to understand is all the descriptions of paradise are basically encaptured by words. And these words cannot truly justify what is on the other side. What we need to understand is that Allah is our host. And Allah is going to reward us in a manner that is befitting His grandeur. And He is going to prepare a paradise for all of us that when we enter, we are absolutely happy. We are going to be happy. We are going to be satisfied. If we are not going to be satisfied in paradise, then it's not paradise. If any one person or gender is not going to be satisfied in paradise, we are not in paradise. Paradise basically means a place where a person is fully satisfied. And I said that I want to present this topic in a manner where it will be easy for us to digest. Trust Allah Almighty and don't have any doubts that He will allow women to go into paradise and be unhappy, or men to go into paradise and be unhappy. The package that Allah has created for men and women is a package that will satisfy both. I'm going to read a few ahadith pertaining to Jannah so we can understand. And I would like you to attach this to the previous presentation that I have given so we can basically be satisfied with what Allah Almighty is saying in the glorious Quran. There is a hadith that has been recorded by Imam Muslim. And the Ravi, the narrator of this hadith is Hazrat Abu Sa'id Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala an and Abu Huraira. So there are two narrators, anhuma. And both of them say that Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Yunadi Munadin, an announcer shall announce in paradise. Inshallah, when you and me, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, we are all in paradise. Yunadi Munadin, an announcer shall announce. What is the announcement? Inna lakum an tasihhu fala tasqamu abada. Before I translate this, I would like to draw your attention to a fine point. And that is, a life of eternity in itself is not a blessing. In itself. Think about it. The inmates of hell, they're going to live a life of eternity. They would like it to cease immediately. They would like that life to cease, to come to an end immediately. Because that life of eternity, unmeasurable life, is filled with pain. So they don't want this to continue. What is paradise? It is a life of eternity. But it is filled with what? Happiness. It is filled with tranquility and peace. And I would like you to focus upon that. Keep that in mind. If some verse, some order, some ruling comes your way and right now it disturbs the inside, don't worry about it. There's going to be no disturbance on the other side, because paradise basically is a life of eternity filled with happiness and tranquility. It is basically a rose without a thorn. You know, we say in this world, every rose has a thorn. So today we may be happy, tomorrow we may be crying. Paradise is not that. Paradise is a place where there is continuous laughter, smile, happiness, peace, tranquility, joy. Keep that in mind. Allah Almighty says that Prophet Muhammad says that there's going to be an announcer that is going to announce what? Inna lakum an tasihhu fala tasqamu abada. Verily for you, it is decreed. Inshallah for us, Allah make us from the people of Jannah. Allah is going to say it is decreed that you shall remain in perfect health never to fall ill. That's number one. Never to fall ill. You don't have to worry about the pains in the knee, in the lower back, migraine headaches, nothing of that kind, no sickness, in perfect health. وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَحْيَوْا فَلَا تَمُوتُوا أَبَدًا. And verily for you it is decreed that you shall continue to live, never to die. Unmeasurable life, a life of eternity. And then, وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَشِبُّوا فَلَا تَهْرَمُوا أَبَدًا. And verily for you it is decreed that you shall remain young, never to grow old. Never to grow old. Many a times we worry, how old are you? I've reached 30. I've reached 40. Then we start to experience the decline. That fear that I am moving closer to my exit from this world basically does not allow a person to settle, especially if the person hasn't made preparation. And that's why movie makers have made movies on a person, hunter, explorer, who is trying to find the water of life. That if you drink from this fountain, you will live forever. And nowadays we find that, of course, we have made inroads and we have advanced in medicine. They're coming up with medicines to extend the life of a human being. They're working upon the human body and trying to extend the lifespan of a human being, the quality of a human being. This is all good. But at the end, they can't stop and prevent death. Allah Almighty says you're going to live forever. But listen to the next part. وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَنْعَمُوا فَلَا تَبْأَسُوا أَبَدًا. And it is decreed, and this is for men and women, hadiths of Muslim. For you it is decreed, Allah is addressing both. For you it is decreed that you shall live in pleasure and delight, and never in misery and in distress. Allahu Akbar. That statement, وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَنْعَمُوا فَلَا تَبْأَسُوا أَبَدًا, should allow us to settle down when we come across verses like وَكَوَاعِبَ أَتْرَابًا. Allah Almighty says you're going to be in pleasure. I'm telling you. Allah is saying, I'm telling you, you're going to be in pleasure and in delight. And whatever you see and experience, it's not going to put you into misery. And you're not going to experience any level of pain. And then Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, فَذَلِكَ قَوْلُهُ عَزَّ وَجَلْ وَنُودُوا أَن تِلْكُمُ الْجَنَّةُ أُورِثْتُمُوهَا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And it will be announced to them that this paradise that has all these features, it is for you. Why? Because you have inherited it by virtue of what you used to do. Subhanallah. And I think that if we focus upon this rather than the verse, or we attach this, وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَنْعَمُوا فَلَا تَبْأَسُوا أَبَدًا. If we focus upon this, that Allah Almighty, our host, we are His guest. Allah gave us a constitution. We abided by that constitution. We went through thick and thin. Allah Almighty is going to be our host. And then Allah Almighty gives us a understanding of what is prepared for us in paradise. There's one thing that, doesn't sit too well with me. But I'm in this world. I can't really understand what's on that on that side. Then Allah Almighty's Habib, Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says that one quality of paradise is وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَنْعَمُوا فَلَا تَبْأَسُوا أَبَدًا, that you will always be, Allah is saying that you will always be in delight and in happiness, never to experience any kind of misery and stress. That basically, that statement alone makes it easy for me to understand, to accept, and to resort to that behavior that Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted from his Sahaba, and that is سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. A recap of what we have discussed. As I made mention that from verse number 31, Surah An-Naba, Allah Almighty changes the theme. The previous theme was about punishment, it was about fire. Then Allah Almighty says that there are going to be people that are successful and they're going to be rewarded with paradise. And Allah Almighty speaks about gardens, speaks about vineyards, and then immediately after that speaks about young maidens of equal age. I made mention that this verse and verses similar to this that convey this message sometimes are hard for my dear sisters to digest, to understand. So I made mention that it should be the quality of a believer, number one, not only to this verse but all verses of the Quran, all sound ahadith of the Nabi of Allah, that whenever we hear something and we know it is authentic, we say Sami'na wa ata'na. I gave an example of the last section of Surah Al-Baqarah that starts from Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, that Allah Almighty initially said to the Sahaba through the Prophet of Allah, you're going to be questioned about that which you expose and which you conceal. The Sahaba, they said, Ya Rasulullah, what we expose, that makes sense. What we conceal, we have no control over it. So we are going to be doomed. Nabi Kareem Muhammad says to the Sahaba, do not behave like this. Don't say Sami'na wa asayna, we have heard and we have disobeyed. But say Sami'na wa ata'na, we have heard and we obey. The Sahaba took that advice and they started to chant Sami'na wa ata'na. They practically demonstrated that. Allah Almighty abrogated that rule, and basically the last verses, Allah Almighty says, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not charge a person beyond his capacity. Laha ma kasabat wa alayha ma iktasabat. You're going to be questioned about that which you have earned. What you have not earned, you're not going to be questioned about it. So we learn from this last section our attitude towards the Quran and the sound ahadith is Sami'na wa ata'na. Then I drew the attention of my noble viewers that we have to understand that if you invite somebody to our house, we prepare, we try to make the environment comfortable for our guest. We prepare a meal that our guest will enjoy. We need to understand that paradise is basically a spread that Allah has prepared for those people that did the right thing in this world against all odds. Because doing the right thing is very hard. Abstaining from haram is hard. So Allah Almighty says, you've done it for me, now you see what I'm going to give you. And Allah Almighty is going to please all, men and women. The hadith that I read out was a hadith from Muslim. The Rawi is Abu Sa'id Khudri and Abu Huraira. The last part of it is وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ أَن تَنْعَمُوا فَلَا تَبْأَسُوا أَبَدًا. That one sifat, quality of paradise is that whoever enters, they will always find delight and joy. There is no stress and misery in Jannah. And it is a life of eternity. We may not be able to understand completely, but we need to understand this. Allah is our host. We are going to be His guest, not for a short period, but for eternity. And the Nabi of Allah has explained further that you're never ever going to experience any kind of stress. I hope this small presentation will allow all to resort to Sami'na wa ata'na physically and intellectually. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
نور الهدى وفانا بحسنه حيانا نور الهدى وفانا